Have mercy on me, Lord, for I am faint. Heal me, Lord, for my bones are in agony. This heartfelt plea captures a moment of deep emotional distress, a cry for help that resonates with anyone who has faced overwhelming challenges. In times of depression and anxiety, we often feel as if our bones are in agony, weighed down by the burdens of life. Yet in this poem, we find hope. We find an invitation to rest in God and trust in His unfailing protection. Your spiritual emotional healing begins when you acknowledge your pain and bring it before God. See that the psalmist doesn't hide his suffering. Instead, he lays it bare before God, seeking His mercy and healing. This is an act of vulnerability. It's the first step toward finding solace. When you open your heart to God, you allow Him to enter your deepest wounds and begin the process of restoration. One of the most profound aspects of spiritual emotional healing is the realization that God understands our suffering. Jesus, the Son of God, experienced the full range of human emotions. In the Garden of Gethsemane, He faced immense anguish, His soul overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Yet He surrendered to the Father's will, trusting in His divine plan. This example shows us that it's okay to feel pain and to seek God's help in our distress. Your cry for mercy and healing is not ignored by a detached deity, but is profoundly understood by a God who has experienced the deepest agony. When you bring your pain before God, you are met with divine empathy. God's solidarity with you in suffering assures you that you are not alone. His presence is with you even in your darkest moments. Although it may be difficult at the beginning, you have to learn to see beyond your present pain to a future filled with hope. God's promises extend beyond this life into the new creation where all tears will be wiped away. This hope should anchor you when you feel overwhelmed by depression and anxiety. By trusting in God's ultimate plan for redemption, you find the strength to endure your present struggles, knowing that they are temporary and that God's healing is both a reality, now and forever. C.S. Lewis, in his reflections on pain and suffering, provides another dimension of understanding. In The Problem of Pain, Lewis explores the idea that suffering can be a tool for spiritual growth. He suggests that God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. Pain, then, is God's megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Yes, this perspective does not diminish the reality of your suffering, but it offers a way to see your trials as opportunities for deeper communion with God. When we are faint and our bones are in agony, we are compelled to seek God with an earnestness that might not emerge in times of comfort. Lewis also highlights the necessity of trust in God's goodness, even when His ways are beyond our understanding. In A Grief Observed, he writes candidly about his own struggles with faith in the face of profound loss. Yet, through his journey, he arrives at a renewed trust in God's love and wisdom. This mirrors the psalmist's experience. Even in the depth of despair, there is a clinging to the hope that God is merciful and will heal. Trusting in God's protection involves surrendering our limited perspective and resting in the assurance that His ways, though mysterious, are ultimately for our good. In your darkest moments, it's easy to feel isolated and abandoned. However, you are never truly alone. God is always present, ready to comfort and protect you. His love is a fortress, a safe haven where you can find refuge from the storms of life. When anxiety threatens to overwhelm you, you can take solace in the knowledge that God is your ever-present help. Trusting in God's protection requires you to relinquish your fears and doubts. It's an act of faith, believing that He is greater than any challenge you face. This trust is not always easy to muster, especially when you are in the throes of depression. Yet it's precisely in these moments of weakness that God's strength is made perfect. When you are at your lowest, God's power is at its highest, ready to lift you up. To rest in God is to surrender your struggles to Him, trusting that He will carry you through. This doesn't mean that your problems will magically disappear, but it does mean that you will have the strength to endure them. To be honest, God doesn't promise a life free from pain, but He does promise His presence and support. He is your shepherd, guiding you through the valley of the shadow of death and leading you to green pastures. When you turn to God in your times of trouble, you tap into a source of peace that transcends understanding. This peace is not dependent on your circumstances, but on God's unchanging nature. By bringing your anxieties to God, you open yourself to His calming presence, That is because spiritual emotional healing is a journey with moments of progress and setbacks. But through it all, God remains faithful. He is committed to your well-being, working all things together for your good. As you persevere, you develop resilience and a deeper sense of trust in God's providence. The heartfelt plea of Psalm 6 is one of hope and assurance. It calls us to trust in God's mercy and to seek His healing with confidence. As we navigate the complexities of life, we can rest in the knowledge that God is with us, guiding us through every trial. His love is a constant source of comfort, His presence a steady anchor in the storm. Spiritual emotional healing is a multifaceted process that involves bringing your pain to God and trusting in His protection. By resting in God's promises and engaging in spiritual and practical disciplines, you can find the strength to overcome depression and anxiety. Hold fast to the truth that God is your refuge and strength, an ever-present help in times of trouble. Continually seek His mercy and healing, confident that He will carry you through the darkest valleys and lead you to a place of peace and restoration.